Hey, welcome to the High-Octane Truth number 9. I'm Peter DiLorenzo, the Auto Extremist. I have Eric Tritko joining me. Eric, you there?
I am. Hey, Peter, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Not bad.
Yeah, good. So this week, we've got a few things to talk about. My column this week was called Stuff This, and it offered stocking stuffers to the downtrodden of the auto business. I'm not going to go through everyone, obviously, but I'll give you a few. Alfa Romeo. Let's face it, this is a pipe dream of Sergio Marchionne's. He insists that he's going to sell 400,000 Alfas globally by 2018. He sold something like 70 last year. He insists he's going to sell, I don't know, upwards of 150,000 or some ridiculous number of Alphas by 2018 in this market. And, basically they'll be lucky if they sell 10,000 of this new Alfa Giulia by 2018 or 19. I mean, it's just a joke. So for the Alfa Romeo people, I'm offering up a stocking full of hand-painted green, white, and red coal for those toiling away on the Alfa brand under Sergio's boot heel, because from here on out, it's a train ride headed straight for oblivion. And speaking of Alfa, how about the Alfa Romeo dealers? I mean, no dealers in the last decade have had more unmitigated bullshit spewed at them from the factory, aka Sergio, than the long-suffering Fiat Alfa Romeo dealers. They've been promised the moon and the stars and everything in between, and have little to nothing to show for it. They get an official auto extremist bullshit detector and a case of Tito's vodka, because they're going to need it. Yeah. As far as Sergio goes, I mean, the only thing I could muster for him is, since that failed promise of Alfa Romeo has been Sergio's Groundhog Day for going on 8 years now, I'm going to get him his very own stuffed groundhog that he can put on his desk and remind himself of what a mess he's started. And, for Acura, we've waited 3.5 years for the NSX, and, it's kind of given us all an empty feeling like, is that all there is? So I'm going to send the Acura people their very own hand-delivered personal copy of Peggy Lee's singing, "Is That All There Is?" because they're going to need it. I'll give kudos to Bentley. They don't need a stocking stuffer. Their stocking stuffer was they pulled out of the Detroit show. Why? Well, let's face it. Bentley market, they're getting more bang for their bucks in experiential marketing initiatives, and they're better off spending their auto show money in high dollar markets. So I don't have a problem with them doing that. For BMW, I'm going to give them several books about the development of the famed 2002, just to remind them of what started it all and how far removed from the plot they really are. For Buick, I'm going to give them a primer on Bill Mitchell and an immersion in all the great Riviera production cars and Silver Arrow concepts. Then we'll talk. Cadillac, I'm going to personally deliver a lecture. The title, Go Big or Go Home, and Why You Won't Find Cojones in the Restrain Bin. You'll have to read the column, you'll get that. Chevrolet, a new campaign theme worthy of the brand, because Find New Roads certainly isn't it. Fiat, what can you say? The nostalgic Italian division of Sergio's empire is a sub-niche of a niche desperately seeking more. Even if FCA stopped importing everything but the 500X, Fiat still wouldn't have a shot in this market. And the new 124 isn't going to change anything or make a damn bit of difference either. Fiat is the little engine that wanted to be fulfilling a role that it was never really cut out for. So what do they get? A one-way ticket back to Italy. For GM, Mary Barra and Dan, I'm the next chairman, just asked me, Ammon, have to stop thinking they're smart enough to get by without a chief marketing officer and just go out and hire one, please. Oh, anyway, just a few others. Porsche, they're stacking stuffers. Please, please, please don't screw it up. Beyond that, you get nothing. The Porsche stocking is already overflowing with riches as it is. And finally, Tesla. You may not have heard, but Elon is reinventing the Christmas stocking, and it will hover by itself, generate enough electricity to heat your house, and it will have enough smoke and mirrors to keep the kids entertained for days. So that's a little preview of my column this week on autoextremist.com and other news that I'd like to talk about. We have what's going on in Formula One. For the uninitiated, Bernie Ecclestone is the dictator of Formula One, and he changes courses on a whim. A few years ago, he was pushing the efficacy of turbocharged V6 engines to the manufacturers because, you know, that's what they were all building and selling. So I guess we should go with that flow. And then after they showed up for the first test and sounded like crap, Bernie started to think out loud, wow, this wasn't such a good idea. So now he really doesn't think it's a good idea. And they're trying to institute changes to make the cars sound better because they don't sound good at all. And now he's pushing an independent engine availability for the smaller teams that would be less costly and offer more horsepower than the manufacturer's engines and sound better too. You know, he's pushing this, and you know, I just have to laugh because let's think about this for a minute, because Mercedes, Ferrari, Renault, I mean, these manufacturers have spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars developing these new turbo engines. So understandably, they're not really thrilled at the prospect of Bernie pushing an independent new engine that's available for the lesser teams. Why is Bernie doing this? Well, he doesn't like the sound, which, you know, he's got a point there. But let's face it, Bernie grew up in the heyday of Formula One, where the Ford Cosworth DFV was plentiful on the grid. They sounded great. They made great power, and they didn't break. And it seemed everything was right with the world with the Cosworth against the Ferrari in Formula One. Bernie wants to go back to that, except the manufacturers are a little irked because they, like I've said, probably cumulatively the manufacturers have had to have spent, I don't know, $1.5 billion on these new engines. So no one knows how this is going to shake out. It's just, you know, more chaos generated by Bernie. I mean, Formula One is a mere shadow of what it once was, even though they keep touting the global viewing numbers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's become sanitized and pasteurized, and everything is regimented, the way the weekends play out, the garages they require that these, you know, potentates build in their countries when they, you know, spend $1 gajillion on these Formula One tracks. And, you know, but it's Bernie, so on a whim, he could say, you know, I don't really like going there anymore. You know, here we have a situation where the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, the host of the U.S. Grand Prix, is really in some serious trouble. And, you know, what does Bernie do? He puts an asterisk on the Formula One calendar for the U.S. Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas. I mean, you know, you just can't make this up. So I don't know what's going to happen. I do know that Bernie has managed to convince certain people who hold sway over the manufacturers, and I think he's going to get this independent engine jammed down their throats, which, you know, is going to be very interesting. Needless to say, I don't know where it's going, but it's just more chaos as brought to you by Bernie Ecclestone and Formula One. So Eric, how about if we talk about a few things? The North American Car and Truck of the Year was announced today. So who are the finalists?
So the truck crossover SUV segment was Nissan Titan XD, the Honda Pilot, and the Volvo XC90. Have have not touched the Pilot, have looked at the XD, and have driven the XC90, I would heavily handicap that to the Volvo. It's such a remarkable vehicle at a good price. I don't see how that one loses.
Yeah, I'm assuming the Volvo's going to take it. I mean, the Nissan XD is a smorgasbord of design elements from Ford and GM, and apparently it's got a decent drivetrain, but I don't see it winning, and I don't see the Honda winning. I think Volvo's got that sewed up. What are the cars?
So the cars were the Chevy Malibu. Oh, I just looked at it 2 minutes ago to remind myself. It was the Malibu. Okay, now I just drew a blank. I'll pull it up.
Yeah. It's so memorable that we...
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the Miata, the MX-5 and the Honda Civic. So if I'm handicapping that one, I've got to go with the Civic. I haven't really talked to anyone who's out on the Malibu first drives, which are going on right now. I've seen the Civic in person. It is so significantly better, at least to look at, interior and exterior, from the last one. It's good. And the Miata, the MX-5 is, will tug at everyone's heartstrings, but let's be honest, it's a very niche vehicle. So I'd have if I'm handicapping, I go the Civic on that one.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you. I mean, the interest in the Miata, I think, has been damaged a bit by the fact that they allowed Sergio to do a 124 named knockoff of it. I just, like I said before, if I'm a Fiat dealer, I'm just like, really? This is going to help me get over the monthly hump with some 124s that are going to trickle in. I mean, yeah, they're great and everything, but what the hell? So, yeah, I don't see the Miata winning, and I just think the Honda is significant. Now, GM is touting this Malibu, but I have to wait till Horse and Hound does their lengthy 3-month test of it before I'll even get near it. So, but reading all about it, it sure sounds fabulous, and they really. The one thing I did like to hear about the new Malibu is they didn't aim it at any existing thing, any existing car in the segment. They aimed higher. They tried to do things differently so that they would actually propel it to a new level. This is, I think this is emblematic of Mark Royce's leadership at GM, that, good enough is not good enough, and it never has been. Now they're really starting to demonstrate to me with the Corvette, the new Camaro, and now the Malibu.
Yeah,
it's not business as usual at GM Engineering and GM Product Development. So kudos to them.
Yeah,
I'll have to wait till who knows when to get my hands on it.
To circle back to your stocking stuffer for Cadillac, it reminded me of a thought I had in listening to Johan at the LA Auto Show, which last time I was on I had forgot about. Is listening to him talk about the XT5, which isn't the first XT5, considering that Subaru had it first. Is a sporty type car, but anyways,
minor detail.
I think if you're going to send a stocking stuffer to Cadillac, it should be a 24 by 36 poster of the legendary Cadillac ad to remind him that Cadillac is supposed to be the standard of the world, not following the standards set by everyone else in the world. Not just in naming, but just listening to him talk about it I know he's supposed to be a brilliant executive, although his time with Infiniti might cause you to think differently, even though it was not much more than a cup of coffee. But it sounded like Cadillac is going to be a nice also run. It doesn't like he's trying to make it be the best, or the absolute halo that GM for GM. So I'm just I was reminded of that the other day as I was doing something and thought about that, because you come back to that every couple of years, and talking about that is one of the greatest things ever written in the automotive world. So
the penalty of leadership was an exceptional piece.
And that was written in what, 1917 or 1922 or something?
Actually, I think it was 1912.
Wow, that long. Okay.
Yeah, it was a brilliant piece of copy, and as a ex-copywriter, I trot it out every once in a while to remind everyone, A, what great copywriting is all about, and B, what Cadillac should be all about. Now, there's an internal struggle going on within GM about Cadillac. I mean, they've tried to keep a lid on it, but it's clear that there are two sides of the argument between Mark Royce and product development and Johan. The fact that GM went outside of the company for Johan was, a significant move. But in doing so, Johan is, I know Johan quite well. He is an exceptional leader, and he doesn't suffer fools at all. He's got strong opinions. I just miss his Infinity time as you said, a cup of coffee. He wasn't there long enough to do anything. I look more to what he did with Audi over a 15-year period, which was truly exceptional. It helped transform the brand in the US. But the task with Cadillac is even greater than anything he encountered at Audi. You have the fact that Cadillac is making all their money with selling of Escalades. Yet they have an ATS, which is brilliantly executed, and the CTS, the same. And the V-Series versions of those are truly, exceptional in every respect. But the division's making money on the Escalades. Everything else is struggling. Now, the SRX has done well the second half of this year because they put a huge amounts of money on the hood, and they've been blowing them out in preparation of the new XT5, which looks nice. And then we have the upcoming CT6, which looks nice too. The operative word that the designers used was restraint. The CT6, I'm afraid when you encounter it on the street when it shows up next May, it's gonna be one of those. Was that a CTS, or is that the new CT6? Right. I have seen them on the street. They're decidedly different. They are bigger, but that's going to be a problem for the average consumer that Lincoln is not going to have with the Continental, because the Continental definitely has a point of view, definitely doesn't look like anything else. That's going to be interesting to watch that play out.
And now, when you saw the concepts of the CL and the El Mirage, that really raised the bar and the expectations of what these would be. And they're just, you see some of the language in there, but not taking it to that level, to that next level.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, those are the two, I consider those two cars to me to be the most significant concept cars of the last 5 years in the business. And that's saying something, because there's been some pretty spectacular concept cars. But the CL 4-seat convertible and the El Mirage, the stunning two-door coupe, those said Cadillac. They were statement cars. Cadillac needs statement cars. The Escalade is not my cup of tea at all. But I will tell you this, when an Escalade's coming at you down the street, there is no mistaking what that is. And I think they need that kind of an impact in their passenger cars and big passenger cars. And even though the Lincoln, the new Continental, is based on, a stretched MKZ platform or whatever, it has a particular design statement and a presence that I'm afraid the CT6 is going to lack. So, I don't know where this is going, but I do know, and I've written this before, that Cadillac on the street needs to be jaw-dropping, people need to say, now that's a Cadillac.
Right.
And they're not saying it yet. CT6 is a fine car. If you look underneath the skin, they've done some tremendous work on it. The interior is really beautiful. But outside, they took that restraint thing too far, and it's a little too quiet. So I don't know where Cadillac's going to end up, but it's the biggest battle going on within GM right now.
Yeah, I said even with the CTS, I love it from the A pillar forward, and from the A pillar back, it's kind of forgettable. The CT6, the XT5, they're, like you say, they're better, but yeah, just too much time with the eraser.
Yeah, they need to swing for the fences every time. I mean, it's okay if it's okay if they, if it's too much for some people. They can't be worried about that. I mean, the CT6 is nice. But it's just not.
Right.
When you see an Escalade coming at you down the street, it's just like, well, there's no mistaking what that is, because that thing is imposing as hell. But I think Cadillac needs to make more of that kind of design statement with their passenger cars. Yep. So you were going to talk about the Lexus.
Yeah, so I had about 10 days ago, I had an LFA for the week, and it's an interesting thing because as enthusiasts or whatever, we want two-door coupe, V8 power, sporty, this and that. And I remember driving it a year ago at the introduction and thinking, okay, this is pretty good, but like all those introductions, you drive it for a couple hours, it's one thing. When you drive it for a week, it's something else. And especially I had it when we had that bit of a cold snap here. And it reminded me of a couple things. One,
was this the RCF?
Oh, I'm sorry. The RCF. I'm sorry. What did I say? The LCF. Yeah, I wish.
The LFA.
The LFA. Yeah.
Even though it's been out for 4 years, that would have been nice to have.
Yeah, exactly. I had a ride in one of those things, and it was memorable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the RCF. It sounds great driving, but it comes on Michelin Super Sport tires, which are absolutely worthless. And when it's under 40 degrees, it's rear wheel drive only. So in this part of the world, it's, you just, plan on spending $2,000 for an extra set of wheels and tires. It's sprung really stiff. I'm shocked that it came out, that Toyota or Lexus let it come out with dampening that wasn't that dialed in. And it really didn't matter where you had it set. And it just felt, when you get in it, I mean, it's kind of nice and you feel very cocooned in and compact. But I'm reminded that the 7-year-old Audi A5, S5, RS5 felt almost nicer and just a little bit better. And I'm like, okay, it's all these things, and it's a compromised chassis because it's a amalgamation of 3 different ones. And then you get to the sticker price of $76,000, and it's sort of a yeah, exactly. I like this. I don't mind the styling. In fact, I kind of like the styling at certain levels. And I think as the RC350 and all-wheel drive with the decent V6, or now the 2-liter turbo they're coming out with, I think it would be a great car. But it's just one of those things of, when you put it on the check boxes, we did this, we did this, we did this, it doesn't always add up at the end to less was actually more in this case. And when they, maybe, I don't know if they tried to go for the fence or whatever, but it didn't work. And it's like, okay, that's interesting that Toyota with their engineering that they're known for, Honda levels at times, but close enough, they missed with this particular model. Not that matters, because they're going to sell 3,000 of them, but still, it was interesting.
Well, it's interesting. They're in a phase where they're actually overcompensating. I mean, let's face it, they've been the epitome of the Toyota idiom of fantastic transportation appliances with a dash of luxury. I'm not knocking it. Lexus has made a fortune for the company, and they've got hordes of loyal buyers that are happy with fantastic luxury. That's fine. So they're overcompensating to make, we're going to make this hardcore. We're going to prove to everyone, especially to the enthusiast community, that Lexus can do performance too. And, it's fine, but it's almost like the dichotomy that's at Cadillac, where the B-Series cars are emblematic of the superb skills of the true believers at General Motors, but they have nothing to do with the rest of Cadillac. I mean, they're almost like isolated incidents. And Lexus going, trying to address the performance equation in some of their vehicles is interesting. And I think they've overcompensated, because you're absolutely right. You get in a Audi S5 or RS5, and they're sophisticated, fast, screwed together perfectly, and it's just, they're at a different level. It shows that they've been doing it longer. Now, the only analogy I can give with what Lexus is doing is, and a lot of people might not remember this, but when the Corvette came out in 1984, the vaunted redo, that car was designed to perform on a skid pad only. And that thing, I mean, the ride was almost, you couldn't live with the ride, and the whole thing was designed to generate, big G numbers and all that. And, they realized after they did it that, well, they went too far with it, and, they slowly got into suspension development over the life of that car. But Lexus, I expected a little more with their performance vehicles. They have to have more level of sophistication. They have to, anyone can buy a bin full of ingredients and throw it on their car and have, like you said, stiff suspension, unforgivable ride, all that stuff. I mean, Hyundai could do that right now. They could go to the bin, select the right ingredients, and come out with a car that does exactly what you're describing. So it's interesting how far Lexus or Toyota Akio is going to take this with the Lexus brand, because it's pretty much out of their comfort zone by a lot. And I don't think they're going to attract the enthusiasts they think they will with these cars.
The F Sport trim I like. It makes things look a little, they usually clean up the styling a little bit. They look good. You can make it a little sportier, and that's really what people want, right? They want the look of sportiness without the compromise of sportiness, and I think that's fine, right? I mean, I think, it's sort of what the BMW M Sport. You get the appearance of it without the full M package, and I think at that level it's really good. But if they want to take it to that AMG full M level, it's going to take another couple rounds of figuring that out and getting that balance.
Yeah, and I'm not so sure that.
And that's not their market.
Yeah, I'm an enthusiast, and I can appreciate the effort and all that, but I'm not so sure it's a valid effort on my part. I mean, they have carved out a niche in this market that's,
enviable.
Formidable, enviable, you name it. I mean, Cadillac and Lincoln would kill to have half their business, but I appreciate Akio's interest in performance, but I think it's almost a non-starter for Lexus, especially in this country. So, well, Eric, it's good to see you again. I appreciate it, and this marks the end of another episode of the High-Octane Truth, and we will see you hopefully again for another episode next week.